Can anybody identify this tree right here? How about picking up some of the seed cones around the base? Anybody familiar with these seed cones? Okay, why don't I tell a story? And that might give some clues. So a long time ago, there was a great forest fire burning through the forest. And a family of little mice ran as fast as they could away from the hot fire. But they knew that they could not outrun this fast-moving inferno. They ran from tree to tree, asking them if they could help save these mice. And none of the trees were willing to help until finally they came upon great old David Douglas-fir. With its thick, furrowed bark, the mice yelled, "Help! Help, Douglas-fir! Could you please help us escape this fire?" And Douglas-fir replied, Yes, mice, I think that my thick bark will help protect us all from the heat of this fire. I may be able to survive, and so why don't you all climb to the top of the branches and climb beneath the scales of the seed cones for extra protection. And so they did. All the little mice ran up to the top of the tree and climbed into the cones as they were told. And other mice took note and did the same thing. And sure enough, they all survived the forest fire, which is why today, within these seed cones, we can still see tiny mice feet and tails. What we'd consider to be little mice feet are called bracts, and only in the Douglas-fir cone are they so distinguishable. The bark of the Douglas-fir can be up to 30 centimeters thick. And despite its name, Douglas-fir is not actually a true fir and lacks the features of a true fir like the silver fir. And the hyphen between Douglas and fir denotes this. Can anyone guess what might have made these scratches that we see on the rock surface? During the last ice age, when continental glacial ice was thickest, about 14,000 years ago, how thick do you think it was at this spot? Any guesses? Yeah, it covered Whistler, but the top of Blackcomb still poked out. It would have reached the summit of Whistler Mountain, which is 2,182 meters, but stayed below the Horseman Hut at 2,284 meters on Blackcomb, and below the peak of Black Tusk, which is 2,319 meters. How does a glacier form? In areas where winter snowpack exceeds summer meltback, a snowfield may accumulate and compact to ice until it becomes large enough to flow under the force of gravity, like a slow-moving river of ice. At that point, by definition, the snowfield becomes a newborn glacier. As it moves, the glacier erodes its bed, excavating a steep-sided depression called a cirque. Much of the scenery we now enjoy in the Sea to Sky country was shaped in both large and small ways by glacial erosion. Broad U-shaped valleys of the Cheakamus and Squamish rivers, the series of ridges that define the skyline, almost any natural outcropping of rock along the corridor bears the scars of glacial souring. The alpine basins we ski in, the cirques or the bowl-shaped depressions, the lakes, a special gift from the Ice Age. During the long period we had glaciers here, southerly flowing glacial gouged out a complex landscape containing numerous large and small depressions. 4 of these filled with water to become Alpha, Nita, Alta, and Green Lake. Lost Lake has a different story. When the main glacier in Whistler Valley began to fall apart, a large chunk of ice was left behind and partly buried by outwash gravel and silt from meltwater streams. When the ice chunk melted, it left a circular depression on the land. This filled with water and became a kettle now known as Lost Lake.